Sometimes, it only takes a single act of quiet cruelty to reveal the loudest kind of leadership. The lobby floor gleamed beneath the afternoon sun filtering through the tall glass doors. Every sweep of the mop caught another footprint, a silent trace of the hundreds who walked in and out daily, never once looking down. To most people, the woman in the blue janitorial uniform might as well have been part of the building, like a fixture, a blur in the corner of their eye. But to Clara Jennings, that floor mattered. She scrubbed it like she was wiping away the weight of the day, each pass of the mop a testament that something, anything, could be made clean, even in a world so often marked by disregard. She never made much noise, just the swish of her mop and the gentle clink of her bucket. Her presence was constant, reliable. At 6 a.m., she was already there. And by closing, she was the last to leave, tying up trash bags or wiping away a smudge no one else had seen. On this particular day, she moved with her usual rhythm, calm and precise. But as she wrung out her mop near the elevators, a burst of laughter echoed behind her. It wasn't joyful. It was the kind of laughter that came with smugness, that turned heads for all the wrong reasons. "Careful there," a man called out. "Wouldn't want to slip on all that ambition." More chuckles followed. Clara didn't turn around. She didn't need to. She recognized the voice, Derek Carlson, one of the junior sales leads, always walking around with the air of a man born on third base who thought he'd hit a triple. His voice carried arrogance like cologne. He loved to remind others of their place. Clara kept her eyes on the floor, her grip on the mop tightening as he added another jab about cleaning up other people's failures. Someone else muttered something about missed potential and dead-end jobs. The bleach burned less than those words. She didn't react, at least not outwardly. She completed her pass, wheeled her bucket toward the janitor's closet, and disappeared from the hallway like she always did, silent and unseen. What none of them noticed was the man standing just behind the marble column, watching. Graham Whitaker, CEO and founder of Whitaker Logistics, wasn't easily rattled. He had clawed his way up from a two-man operation in his garage to running one of the country's most efficient logistics networks. He believed in grit, humility, and treating people right. But what he saw, employees laughing at someone who took pride in their work, hit harder than any profit loss ever had. He hadn't planned to return to the office that afternoon. He'd just come back from an investor lunch, jacket over his shoulder, steps light. But what he'd witnessed froze him mid-stride. He didn't speak. Not then. He stepped back into the elevator, rode it up to the executive floor, and opened the internal messaging system on his computer. One by one, he looked up the names of the men who'd stood there laughing. His expression didn't change, but his fingers moved with resolve. By the time he looked down at the lobby again, Clara was gone. Her mop was back in the closet, gloves folded, bucket rinsed. But the silence she left behind stayed with him. Because when a company forgets to respect the people who keep it running, it forgets its soul. And Graham Whitaker had no intention of letting that happen. The office was hushed that evening. Most employees were already home, their voices and keystrokes replaced by the hum of air vents and the gentle buzz of the cleaning team's vacuums. But in Graham's office, the energy pulsed. He stood by the window, arms crossed, face unreadable. He'd spent hours reviewing employee behavior files, not sales reports or KPIs, but personal notes, feedback, peer evaluations. None of the men had prior complaints. One had even been praised for bringing levity to the team. The irony stung. This wasn't just about Clara. It was about the values his company was built on, and how quietly those values had begun to crack. The next morning, Graham arrived before sunrise. Earlier than anyone else, including the cleaning staff. He waited in the lobby, sleeves rolled, mop in hand. Clara entered through the side door just after 5:45 a.m., wearing her usual Navy uniform, her curly hair tucked neatly in a bun. She froze when she saw him. "Morning," he said with a half-smile. "Figured I'd see if I remember how to use one of these." "Sir," she asked cautiously. "You'll understand soon," he replied. "For now, would you mind showing me how you keep this place looking like a five-star hotel lobby?" Clara blinked, unsure if this was real. But something in his tone told her he wasn't kidding. By 8:30, when employees started filing in, they were greeted with a scene that made them pause mid-step, their CEO mopping the floors next to the janitor they'd ignored for years. No announcements. No press. No explanations. Just work. Graham didn't perform. He scrubbed, rinsed, and nodded respectfully as Clara corrected his mop angle. Even cracked a joke about his clumsy technique. The junior sales rep who had mocked her entered, faltered, and tried to laugh. No one joined him. The message was clear. Later that afternoon, Graham gathered the full company for a meeting. No slides, no metrics. Leadership, he began, starts with what you're willing to do when no one's watching. And respect isn't a title, it's how you treat the people around you, especially those who support your success in ways you don't even see. No one interrupted. No one dared. I won't name names, he added, because I don't need to. The floor wasn't the only thing cleaned this morning. Something else shifted. Clara never wanted attention. Her world had always been behind the scenes, discreet, predictable. But after that morning, something changed. People began to acknowledge her. Real greetings. Eye contact. Department heads began stopping her in the hallway to say thank you. Even small things mattered. A fresh box of gloves with a note. Thanks for what you do. A new hire offering her coffee, sharing that his mother had been a cleaner too. And then, one afternoon, Graham appeared again. No mop this time. A clipboard in hand. Got a minute? She followed him to the employee lounge. Basic chairs. A faded bulletin board. But it felt safe. This company has over 500 people, he said. But somehow I missed how one of the most important was being treated. I can't undo that. But I can offer something better. He proposed a new role, Workplace Experience Coordinator. Same department. More responsibility. She'd oversee janitorial training, workplace wellness, and become the advocate for everyone behind the scenes. Me? Clara asked. You've been doing the job already. I just want to make it official. She accepted, not for status, but because, for once, someone had seen her as more than a uniform. The next town hall was different. Graham stepped forward without slides or a script. Today, I'm not talking about growth or expansion. I'm talking about dignity. He told them about the laughter, about the mop. And then he introduced Clara. Her new badge read, Workplace Experience Coordinator. We're launching the Clara Standard, he announced. A program recognizing employees whose quiet excellence lifts us all. Applause thundered through the room. Even the employees who had once laughed stood silently, understanding the weight of what had happened. From then on, respect wasn't optional. Clara's work began to ripple outward. She introduced training sessions, not just on cleaning, but on navigating disrespect and preserving self-worth. She ensured her team had a voice at every facilities meeting. Graham visited their break room. He asked real questions. He listened. What's the hardest part now? He asked during one visit. Getting people to believe this will last, she replied. Then we'll keep showing them, he promised. The story spread. A video from the town hall, just a few seconds long, captured her quiet voice saying, sometimes the dirtiest job is cleaning up how we treat each other. It resonated far beyond the company. Weeks passed. Graham sat in his office one night, holding a mug gifted by the facilities team. It read, Respect is a full-time job. Emails flooded his inbox, employees sharing stories of change. One junior staffer stayed late to help refill soap dispensers. A manager now ensured conference rooms were spotless after use. Clara became a key voice in internal policy, even suggesting new onboarding tours that included meeting the janitorial team, so new hires would understand who really kept the place running. One day, Graham invited her for coffee on the rooftop terrace. They stood quietly, watching the city breathe. Do you ever think about what started all this? He asked. Clara smiled. A mop and a bad joke? Funny how the smallest cracks show us where the structure needs repair. You didn't forget who we are, she said. You just remembered in time. He handed her an envelope, a bonus, and a budget to expand her training program. Later that week, she received an invitation to speak at a regional leadership summit. Graham had nominated her. She stood in front of a room full of suits and told her story. About invisibility. About pride. About the man who didn't rescue her, but chose to stand beside her. If you want to build a company that lasts, she said, start with the people no one's watching. Back at work, change had taken root. New hires met her on day one. Her name appeared next to executive updates. People cleaned up after themselves without being told. She wasn't just a janitor anymore. She was part of the culture that had emerged. One night, she passed a young intern wiping down a counter. When he noticed her, he smiled. It's what you do, right? That's how it spreads. Not with speeches, but with example. Weeks later, Graham and Clara stood on the terrace again. You saved this company, he said. I didn't, she replied. You listened. He nodded. It all started with someone cleaning up a mess they didn't make. She smiled. Isn't that what most of us are doing? And they both knew this was just the beginning.